What's going on, guys? It's Gordon Sign here, coach of your Trenton Dragapults, bringing you the BTA Season 7 playoffs. Now, I'm alone today. A lot of people are busy. We're currently switching between seasons, so I just found it easiest for me to bring it to you guys by myself. If you were looking for the All-Star Game or the awards, we actually ended up doing that live, as usual, but the VOD did not get saved, unfortunately, and so we will not have that for the YouTube. We're going to try and get that for you next season, though. You can see all the All-Star battles listed on the website, the bta.net/season-7. And that will bring you to the Season 7 battles. If you scroll down, you'll find the All-Star Game battles. Also, the bta.net/awards lists all the award history, so you'll see everything listed there if you are so curious. That being said, our first playoff match in round one was Nuke versus Hash, and so we're going to take you through all three rounds today, and this was a round one match. In Nuke vs. Hash was the number 2 seed, Nuke was the number 7 seed. And going into this, we expected this to be a tight game, a close game. Last time, it came down to a cloister flinch on Rotom, so Nuke was looking to get some revenge. So this game was exciting. But early on, we see defensive Clefable come out, and Nuke's trying to get pressure with Skuntank, and Hash ain't having it. Nuke does try and make a call with the Fire Blast on the Steel type, which was good. Unfortunately, he lets this thing get Willowed, and that's going to be a big problem for damage output, because Skuntank now kind of just sits here and doesn't do that much. He does get the defense drop, which is nice, through the Culver Berry. Stealth Rocks do get up for free, though. But Espeon now comes in, and this is where we realize Espeon's a problem. Especially with that fake tears. Espeon is a big problem for Hash. So Nuke keeping this thing healthy is going to be huge, especially now it reveals the Yawn as well. Being able to put things to sleep and lower their SPDF. Now, he takes a little bit of chip here, but it's not a huge deal. Hash is just trying to figure out how he's going to deal with this. He's doing a lot of switching, getting health back, but he's starting to realize that this thing is doing big damage and just hurting all of Hash's team. Now, I would have liked to see Yawn on the second Psychic so he couldn't Wish Protect, but, you know, it's fine. He does take 35 there from the Moonblast, but again, leftovers are letting him stay healthy, so it's not a huge deal. And Hash is actually going to teleport here, so Nuke is going to be forced to switch on this into Skuntank, which again is just kind of getting whittled down by that burn. Not super useful either. Goes to the Poison Jab, which is an odd read. Does get the poison on the Mew, though, which is actually huge. So it ends up being super helpful. Dragapult comes out. The Roost right there. And now Clefable is able to come back in on a Shadow Ball. So we see it's mixed Dragapult from Nuke because he reveals U-turn. Again, right into Caparaja. This battle was one of the longer ones to strap in. Caparaja is going to scare that thing out. Gets the rocks up. Switches back out because, you know, doesn't want to take too much damage on his G-Max. Rapid Spin here from that Eldegoss. I think that's what the thing's called, right? I don't know. Yeah, it's Eldegoss. Giga Drain on the Espeon. Espeon's now in the yellow, and this is where things are getting bad for Nuke. Espeon down to the red, back up into the yellow, and it's not an ideal situation because, as we stated earlier, this Espeon puts in so much work for Nuke, but this thing's already getting chipped down, and now it's down to 6%. Not looking great for Nuke because this Espeon does so much damage and outspeeds so much. But unfortunately, Mew's able to come in for free and then right back into Eldegoss to eat that hit. And Nuke really needed to switch. He really needed to switch. Espeon could not keep taking these hits and goes down there, unfortunately. And that's going to be a huge loss. Toxicroak now comes in. And if it's setup Toxicroak or sub Toxicroak, it's not a huge deal. Unfortunately, we don't see that come out. And we're thinking it's choice, seeing that he switched out. Swords Dance here from the Doublade, and this isn't great. But Hash is like, I'm not taking that extra damage from that Fire Blast. And the Fire Blast unfortunately misses twice in a row, which is very unfortunate for Nuke. I'm not exactly sure what the there. Okay, now we'll see it connects at 30%. So yeah, that would have been 230% on that thing. It does get a burn to negate the leftovers, which is nice, but missing that many Fire Blasts is super unfortunate. And now Skuntank goes down, and so it's now 6-4. And it's starting to not look as great for Nuke. But he is able to pressure with Kaparaja. He's calling a switch here, which he does not get correct. As Hash finally shows off a Sleep Powder. So Nuke now has to sack something to the Sleep Powder. At least he thought so. And that's why he's going into Rotom Wash, because I guess he thought it was the least valuable. But he just Volt Switches out. And now realizes, I guess, it's an odd situation, because, like, at any moment, Hash could just fire off a Sleep Powder, and there's nothing really breaking this Eldegoss. And so, the two things that could break it, the G-Max Caparage and the Toxicroak, are terrified to come in, and Nuke is just letting everything take way too much damage. There's no breaking this thing. Luckily for him, he does get a Spadef drop, but it's still not enough with how much Synthesis is recovering. But right there, Hash goes for a Sleep Powder, and because it hits, it pays off. If he missed that, that could have been really detrimental to his game. So we see the Doublade come in on the Kaparaja, who's going for the Rockfall. Good read there by Hash. Now, we're going to see a Sacred Sword to get some chip on it and the Max Flare, so Hash knows Doublade's time has come, but it's already wasted 2 Kaparaja turns. Charizard comes back in to bait out another hit, switches back out, and we see it actually crit the Mew, which is actually huge for Nuke, because that's going to take out the Mew with Sand and Poison. But at this point, Charizard can now max, and it's not looking great. That Okaberry isn't able to save Kaparaja at that percent. Rotom comes in, shows that it is not Rindo, unfortunately. That will go down. It doesn't outspeed. Dragapult is asleep, doesn't wake up, goes down to the Airstream. There's nothing a Toxicroak's going to do to a +1 speed Charizard. Toxicroak comes out and Fake Out. So it's not Choice. And that's about game. Vacuum Wave, Air Slash, and that's game. It was a close one for a while, but the second Espeon went down, everything started kind of spiraling, and unfortunately, maxing first cost Nuke, because that Zard was so free to max after that and just kept doing so much damage. So Hash does move on, and Nuke is eliminated from round 1. Moving on, we got the number 4 seed in Fish versus the number 5 seed in Walt. And going into this game, it was kind of up in the air who could win. Both teams haven't played, I don't believe, this season. Walt kind of threw together a last-minute Sand team to try and counter this Rain team Fish threw together, or has had. And so it kind of, threw Fish for a loop. But the unfortunate thing about Sand is it is weak to rain and water. And so Walt's got to be careful with getting his Sand up and when he does and what mons it's against. And we're going to see another Clefable team here as well. So Clefable being a wall that it is, showing up in back-to-back games. Pelipper comes right back in and gets its rain up. Nice rocks there from Walt, but again, we could just see a defog at some point. Nice Hurricane there on the switch into Rotom. That Volt Switch is going to do big damage to Beartic, but Beartic is now looking a little scary. So Walt realizes this and is like, okay, Gastrodon, you're going to take that Icicle Crash for me. Does a little more than I think Walt was expecting, but it's not a huge deal. Fortunately there, it does flinch on the second one, and that larger damage roll is actually going to put it in a third Icicle Crash range. So Gastro has to switch out, and Umbreon comes in. But unfortunate for Fish, this Beartic is getting chipped down a lot. Not that Beartic's huge, it's getting big damage on things he needs it to get damage on. It's not getting It didn't get the flinch there, but he does read the protect and goes for a Swords Dance, which is huge. So now he goes for the Icicle Crash, doesn't get a flinch, and gets Toxic. Walt lands the Toxic there, which is gonna take Beartic out, which is unfortunate. It was a good play with the Swords Dance. I would have liked to see a second Swords Dance maybe at some point before that Toxic came out, but it is what it is. Icicle Crash flinch would have been huge. Close combat there on the Corviknight switching, and that's more damage than Walter wanted to take, and this is where things get a little out of hand because now Umbreon has to come in and something basically had to get sacked, and Umbreon comes in and dies to that. Rotom gets a free switch, but Clefable just eats those hits, but it does allow Excadrill to come in, which is nice for Walter, but Pelipper is able to set up the rain. Walter makes the call with the Rock Slide on that Pelipper and goes into Dreadnought here, Fish does. And that Iron Head is going to do, I think, a little more than Fish was expecting. Now, obviously, Walter doesn't want to take a hit from this thing, but it is able to just go for a Max Quake on the Gastro switch in. I think Walt was expecting a Water-type attack. Fortunately for him, it did a lot. He went for the Max Quake. Now, he does have the berry on the Hippo to deal with the G-Max. So now, Walt still has a G-Max in the back. Fish is out of his G-Max. But Liquidation there on the Rotom. That play right there is so crucial. Not having a switch into Barraskewda at this point in the game really hurt Walter. So, if we just watch this play again here. Barraskewda comes in. Walt's got to let something go, and unfortunately, Rotom is not the mon that can be let go at this point, because Rotom, if it is Scarf, which I believe it was, deals with Pelipper, it deals with Barraskewda, and so to lose it right now is really unfortunate, because now nothing deals with Barraskewda, really. Excadrill does come in the sand, but Clefable is able to just help take a turn by sacking itself off, takes a turn of that sand away, and Barraskewda is able to come back in and reveal it is Choice, it is Aqua Jet, so that's huge for Fish. Actually, yeah, it is Choice, because that's sand. Yeah, Choice on that thing. Pelipper is going to come in, it's going to die to the rocks right on and waste a turn of G-Max, allowing Galvantula to come in now and take this thing out with the Thunder, except we reveal that it does have the berry, and so that Galvantula will go down. Barraskewda comes in, though, and is able to just click Liquidation once and twice. And that crit did not matter. We ran calcs. That Liquidation from a Choice Band Barraskewda was killing. It's unfortunate. It was a 1-0 loss, so it was close. Again, saving Rotom might have been the play. That Aqua Jet, though, having that tech there to take out that Excadrill was huge. And, when we watched this battle live, it's like, all right, either Fish has the Aqua Jet here, or he's realized he's lost. And fortunate for Fish, he did have the Aqua Jet. So 1-0 win. Fish moving on to round 2, and Walter will be eliminated. Now, the 3 seed in Poke Primer versus 6 seed in Cog Sentient. I do not believe these two have battled either this season. If they have, that is my bad. It has been a lot of battles. It's hard to keep track of 18 teams. But yeah, so immediately Primer gets the Willow Burn on Seismitoad. Now that could matter. We haven't seen if the Seismitoad is physical or special yet, and that knockoff leads us to believe it is physical. But, it could be there for just coverage, but now we see the Liquidation, and Cog already realizing that this Seismitoad is in danger, and that's unfortunate. Now Flapple is going to come in predicting a Leech Seed, but instead Primer makes the read with the Gyro Ball and gets good damage. Thunder Wave there, which is an interesting play. I would have expected another Gyro Ball, but, he does. It is interesting. This thing gets the Seed Bomb off, and Seismitoad goes down, and that's huge for Primer, not having to deal with that thing, because that's the main wall on Cog's team, and not having to deal with that wall anymore is huge. That's a big crunch there, but it's not enough to pick up the kill. Unfortunately, he went for the Fire Fang on the Rotom, not predicting the switch. Honestly, Cog kind of needed to make the prediction at that point, because now getting burnt on this thing is also crucial for Primer and very unfortunate. Cog again making the predictable play. I don't really blame him, but Noivern did outspeed, and unfortunately that play rough is going to do minimal damage, and because of all the extra chip, Bolton's going to go down. Now Xander's able to come out and revenge kill, which is huge, but Grimmsnarl at this point is able to bulk up, and this isn't looking great, but goes for a Darkest Lariat. I'm not exactly sure why, and so Scrafty's going to Dragon Dance, going to go for the Iron Head, but that is just not enough because it's +1 defense, and now the Max Starfall gets big damage. Oh, turns out the Darkest Lariat was a misclick. So Swords Dance on the Mimikyu on a G-Max Snooze, and for the first time this season, Primer gets the Drowsy, and that is unfortunate for Cog. Cog really couldn't afford for that to happen. He does also miss the play rough. Now we ran the damage calcs. While it did, I believe it killed, but it did then go to sleep, so it wasn't like the biggest thing. It just, especially because this thing was able to just come out and kill Grimmsnarl anyway. But this Silvally is gonna have the tech for the Flapple. It's now gonna be able to multi-attack, and Freeze Dry is just not gonna be enough. And this thing multi-attacks to win. While it was unfortunate that Cog missed the play rough, the bigger thing was the snooze. Now, if the snooze and the play rough miss didn't happen, this could have been a way different game. I do think Indeedee still went in. Indeedee was Scarf or something. I forget exactly. But I remember we heard that Indeedee kind of still had a good chance to win this game out, but it did made things a lot harder for Cog. It's just unfortunate how his season came to an end. And Primer will move on to round 2, while Cog will be eliminated. And finally, for round 1, we have the number 1 seed versus the number 8 seed. Primer versus Aaron versus Valor. We see another Grimmsnarl here, another G-Max Charizard, another Mew. So we see a Caparajah on Valor's side, so a lot of mons we've seen before showing up again. Remember, we had 2 different draft pools, so that's why. Valor going for the close combat, gets a crit turn 1, huge damage, and now he goes into the Arcanine. Not exactly sure why he didn't try and just go for the kill there, but I get it. Arcanine does get toxic, but he's able to pick up a kill on Komodo very early, and that's huge. Unfortunately for Valor, Arctivish exists. But Aaron goes for the Freeze Dry, which is a weird call. I know he was trying to call the Jellicent, but it's still a strange one to me. Now, this Arcanine's able to come in and intimidate, but Grimmsnarl is going to set up a Reflect, and this is going to let Charizard come in super safe on a play rough. It's going to go for the Air Slash because there's no need to max yet, especially with this toxic damage. Air Slash again, and it gets the flinch, which is unfortunate for Valor, but again, there wasn't much else Valor could have done with that thing. Now, the trick Lagging Tail and the Assault Vest was a weird one because we've seen Choice Arctivish every time instead, but whatever. Unfortunately, Arctivish does live that max Steel Surge and is able to take out the Caparajah, which is huge for Aaron. Valor being down his Caparajah already, his G-Max, so Valor is able to get the Steel Spikes up though, which will be helpful kind of throughout this battle, not the biggest thing. The biggest thing it does chip away at is the Grimmsnarl, which is nice. Scald, no burn. Light Screen now from the Grimmsnarl. Another Scald, still no burn. Reflect, Scald. It does crit, so Grimmsnarl gets taken out, and that's huge for Valor. Some luck back his way. But Mew is now behind Light Screen and Reflect, and Nasty plotted up and has the Colbur Berry. It's gonna crit. Not that that mattered. It's gonna Aura Sphere here, which isn't doing much. Now Valor's gonna go for a weird play and a Toxic. And he knows it's Synchronize. I think Valor realized that his only real win con was really hurting the Mew was through Toxic, and at this point now, it puts it in range of Hydreigon and Dark Pulse, and that's big. But we're gonna see Zard come in, and G-Max Wildfire, G-Max Overgrowth, which does a big chunk, but not as much as I expected. And Jellicent had a chance to live, except for the fact that the Wildfire already was up, so now a second Overgrowth will kill. And at this point, it's Mandibuzz versus Hitmonchan and a Charizard, and that's just not going to work out for Valor. It was close, but unfortunately, that Toxic damage is going to put it right in range of Air Slash, so that Toxic kind of ended up biting in the butt. Not that Hitmonchan couldn't have just dealt with that thing with Ice Punch, but still. 2-0 win for Aaron. Valor came very close to pulling that game a few different plays, and it probably could have went the other way. Not getting that big damage on his G-Max was the biggest. I think that was like the biggest error, was how much damage he took on his G-Max. But, you know, you're going up against a team that hadn't lost yet. Aaron was 11-0. Some of those wins were lucky, but at the end of the day, you're playing a really tough opponent. And Valor held his own. 2-0 win for Aaron. Now, we're into round 2. We got Hash versus Primer, while Aaron is gonna play Fish. So we'll start with the 2 seed versus the 3 seed in Hash versus Primer. And we're expecting this one to be close. Should be a real tough battle for the two of them. I forget if they played already this season or not. But I know Hash didn't want to play Primer. Either Primer played and hacked them out or something. I forget exactly all the details. But as we see early on, Hash is already going for his Clefable shenanigans. And Primer ain't having it. He goes for the taunt. But, you know, that is a super effective Moonblast at +1. And now Primer's G-Max is down to 2%. It's like, it's not ideal at all. Now, Thunderwave gets the paralysis, which is nice. Now, he goes for the taunt here. I really would have assumed him go for damage with the G-Max, but I guess it makes sense with the Shadow Sneak. Volt Switch here, you know, trying to just get some kind of pressure on this Clefable. As I say that, it's literally pressure with Dusclops. Pun was not intended. Grimmsnarl, you know, unfortunately, the G-Max being dead already. Now, this is a mean look set, which is, I think, is quite clever, but Hash showing Teleport, so it's not going to matter. And Orbeetle's going to come in and Calm Mind. And now, that was a huge read with that was a huge read with the Haze on the Orbeetle. Great prep there. More chip with Nightshade on this Clefable and the Poison, but Wish is going to be helping that out a lot. Unfortunately, that second layer of Toxic Spike never got up. So this Clefable is only taking normal poison and not toxic damage. And so it's more free. So this Clefable is a lot more free to just keep wishing and moonblasting. As you see here, another Wish. And we finally see a Pain Split from Primer. So now we understand why he was doing all that. And Garbodor's finally going to come back in and say, alright, enough's enough. And this is where Primer makes the call of a switch and tries to get up more hazards with spikes on a Mew. But now we see the block set that Aaron ran. Now Hash is running the block set, and this is where things are going to get interesting. Because we all know what's coming. It's just a matter of time. Again, only one Toxic Spike, so Mew can heal up that poison damage. It's not a huge deal. Having that second Toxic Spike would have been so good earlier. He now puts up a second layer of spikes. Not that it really matters, but, you know, it's nice. Now the Transform, and this is going to be a Struggle Fest from Primer's Garbodor, and now Hash gets to set up his own hazards, and there's no real way to remove him on Primer's side. Now, unfortunately for Hash, this is actually going to end up costing him his Mew. But it's not a huge deal, just because all this hazard stacking was way more important than that damn Mew. The Mew did its job. It got Garbodor down far enough that Charizard is now able to come in, click G-Max Wildfire, And there's not much Primer can do about it because it's going to have the max rockfall. Primer was prepped for that, so that good on Primer there. And he's going to get the Thunder Wave off, which is huge. Now, Primer needs to bank on a full para here while he Volt switches out. He does go into Milotic, and I don't believe Hash made the read. No, Hash went for another max rockfall, but that on top of Sandstorm and Wildfire damage is actually a lot more, and Toxic is a lot more than I think Primer was anticipating. At this point, Eldegoss can just come in and kind of sit comfortably, because Sand, Wildfire, and Toxic again are just going to chip this thing down, even though it does have Recover. Dusclops comes in on the Eldegoss. Not that it matters that much, because this Leech Seed is just more Turnly damage for Hash, and you kind of see where this battle's headed. Giga Drain here on the Dusclops, Pain Splitting, trying to live, but again, that being a Toxic and not Poison is very, very unfortunate for Primer's sake. Now, he does go into the Double Aid on the Spikes, which is going to take damage, but it is actually going to pick up the kill, not getting parried, which is, again, unfortunate for Primer. Volt switching here with the Rotom into the Silvally fighting, which this is the strangest thing to me. So you look at this team that Hash brought. Mew, Psychic, Charizard Flying, Clefable Fairy, Double-Aid Ghost, Orbeetle Psychic. Why this is Silvally fighting makes very little sense to me, especially with the mons that he tends to bring. Now, Cloyster is one that could have come instead. Also, Bisharp. So I understand why fighting could have been helpful, but I feel like having like an electric Silvally would have been better. A steel type Silvally would have at least been better for the Clefable. Poison for the Clefable and the Eldegoss if you want to try and do big damage to those two. This fighting type Silvally just end up not being super helpful, except for the fact that it has one move that would have been very nice if Primer clicked earlier, and that is Defog. And, all those hazards are gone, but Primer forgot he even had Defog on this thing, so it's too little too late. Clefable's just going to be able to keep wishing up, and Primer realizes that's the game. He knows that there's nothing else he can do, and he's going to forfeit right there. So that will be technically a 5-0 win. Not that it matters, because we're in playoffs. Differential don't matter at this point. Hash beats Primer in round 2, and Hash, makes it to finals. So good on Hash. Now we got Aaron versus Fish, and we saw these two play earlier this season. Fish, I believe, lost because of a misplay with Barraskewda. So we're expecting a fun, close game here. And immediately Fish goes into the Pelipper, but as we see, that's kind of a mistake because Fish's Rend and Rain is going to do a lot. And now he goes into his Dreadnought, and Fish's Rend is just going to kill that thing. So Fish has no G-Max, and already Fish kind of realizes, uh-oh, I messed up. And the Thunder doesn't kill the Arctivish, and at this point, everything's already out of hand. He goes to the Liquidation, forgetting that this thing is Water Absorb, and that's another Mon gone for Fish. And we've kind of realized that this game, it was over before before we even got to see much. Unfortunately for Fish, there's really no coming back from this. No G-Max, no Barraskewda, no Galvantula. All his heavy hitters are dead. All he's got is a Pelipper and Clefable, and this Charizard is just setting up. And that's a second one. Clefable ain't going to be able to fucking pull a Malamar here. It's not going to pull a Malamar. It's just not. And Fish realizes his time in playoffs is done in just 10 turns. Because that Iron Tail does miss. But it missed it again, so I guess it's 11 turn. Shit, I forgot. I knew the first one missed. I forgot the second one did. And there's another one. Okay, it's doing less than I expected, but he does get the defense drop, so now it really just does not matter. Because that second Iron Tail is going to pick up the kill. And, you can argue, well, the defense drop helped, and maybe Clefable could have done something, but he did miss 2. It's unfortunate. really unfortunate for Fish for those first 3 months to all go the way they did. Arctivish was a monster this battle. And, we all know Fish is capable of more than that. I don't think this battle was the best showing. Clearly, he was 4th place for a reason this season. He had a really great season, and it's just an unfortunate battle against somebody that, doesn't make a lot of mistakes in battle either. So making those mistakes against somebody that, first of all, doesn't make a lot of mistakes and also has a Mon that just basically clicks one button is very unfortunate for Fish. But, we're going to have Aaron versus Hash in finals, and here is the finals match. Now, speaking of finals, these are 2 newcomers to the league making their way to finals. So, did we fuck up from inviting people that are too good at the game? Were we all just too bad? Did they get lucky? Who knows? I mean, they're the 1 and 2 seed for a reason. I think both these players drafted very well. Both of them played very well. Both of them had some luck throughout the season. But, as you saw in playoffs, both of them played really well and showed why they deserve to be here, even if they had some luck during the season. We do see a Mirror Mew. We do see a Mirror G-Max Zard. We're going to see another Clefable. We're seeing a lot of Clefable in these playoffs. Eldegoss, Doublade. They're all showing up again for Hash, but this time he actually brings the Cloyster, the horrifying Cloyster that just gets flinches throughout the season. Meanwhile, Aaron's bringing his regular Caparajah. He's bringing his Grimmsnarl. He's bringing his Rotom. The Arctivish is back. Mew, as we mentioned already, G-Max Charizard and Mew. So this battle gets started with an actual G-Max lead right for Hash. And a Volt Switch here for Aaron, and I don't think anybody was anticipating Hash to just lead this thing. And that Crit Max Airstream is huge, but we ran calcs, and we're not exactly sure how Arctivish lived or took that much damage with a crit. Because based on the sets we saw, not lived. Based on the sets we saw, that Max Airstream did a lot more damage than it should have. It seems that it double crit almost from the calcs we ran, because either it was killing. Actually, no, with Hash's set, I don't think it killed. I think it lived. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, basically, to do that much damage, it needed to basically double crit. We're not really sure on the calcs. Like, we've run the calcs with both their sets, and nothing's adding up still. So we're not sure. It's almost as if Showdown glitched out or something. We're not 100% sure, but it is what it is. Arctivish gonna go down early. And this G-Max Wildfire is gonna do a lot of damage to Caparajah. And Caparajah does have the Rock Slide, so Hash loses his G-Max Charizard, but is already able to put in huge damage against Aaron. Now, this turns out to be a Dragon Dance Mew, and that's a free Dragon Dance, seeing that Wildfire kills the Caparajah. Now, this Paralysis on Mew is an interesting play. It doesn't proc there. Gunk Shot on the Grimmsnarl, and that gets Wildfired down. So that's another kill for Hash. Now, this Zard actually outspeeds the Mew and is able to, because of the paralysis, and is able to kill, which is big. But this Clefable's packing Thunder Wave, so even more paralysis getting thrown around. Shocking, no Thunder Wave misses, actually, because that's usually what happens with Thunder Wave. Soft Boiled, regular Flamethrower we see here, Soft Boil again. And so Aaron's like, I'm going to test my luck with Ancient Power. Not going to get it. Still not going to get it. Moonblast here from the Devil. Full Para. Moonblast here from the Devil. Full Para. Moonblast here from the Devil. And we see a change to Flamethrower. Gets a burn, which is nice, I guess. Although it's not, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't, it's not affected by it because it's ability. And now Shadow Sneak kills that. And we're down to 3-2. So again, this is still a close match, while it seems like Hash had the lead for such a long time. Sleep Powder here on the Mew switch in. And now Doublade's going to come back out. And it's going to get some Shadow Sneak chip off. Again, saving this thing. And Eldegoss doesn't really have a way to be broken now by Aaron, which is very unfortunate for for Aaron. And so Hash basically can just keep switching and getting free chip on everything. Finally fires off a Toxic, reading the switch. Shadow Sneak just to get a little more damage, knowing that this is probably a Volt Switch from Aaron, and is able to actually stay in and get more damage off with another Shadow Sneak. Aaron finally wasting a sleep turn, realizing that Shadow Sneak's not doing enough and that Hash isn't a Swords Dance set. Shadow Ball isn't enough to kill. Hash goes for another Toxic here, trying to Toxic that Mew. And now Eldegoss is just going to come in, eat this Volt Switch. And we're kind of seeing here, Aaron's not got a way to break that Eldegoss, but this changes things. Mew reveals Nasty Plot, and now Hash is kind of on the back foot. Unfortunately for Aaron, Psychic isn't going to be enough, and this Eldegoss actually has Light Screen, which is enough to let it live on just a sliver, and it gets the Sleep Powder. It lands the Sleep Powder, and at this point, Cloyster's coming in, clicking Shell Smash. And now it's just an Icicle Spear way to victory. The only thing Aaron really could have done differently, if we go back to this turn here, right after the Sleep Powder, when Mew fell asleep, if Aaron went, oh shit, he's going to try and sweep me with Cloyster, and went into Rotom, on that, because of this Rotom would have been able to either kill or come super close to killing Cloyster. I'm not really sure on the calc through Light Screen, but Cloyster Spadef is horrible. Although this thing might have just been Sash, so it might not have mattered. But that's like the only thing I could have seen Aaron do differently basically in this late game, because letting this Mew stay asleep just basically gave Hash the win. You know, you never know. Even if it was Sash firing off a Thunderbolt, maybe you get a Paralysis and you get a full para. You know, it's unfortunate. Same with the double para. The double para was also unfortunate. But, you know, at the end of that turn 1 crit was the biggest thing. For sure. We're still not sure on the damage, but, you know, we're not going to let that taint this battle. This battle was still really well played on both ends, and especially with what both coaches were given. Hash obviously had the luck more on his side for this battle, and you know, playing more aggressive than we tend to see Hash play, if you want to call this play style aggressive. I mean, there was still a lot of switching, a lot of just waiting out turns, trying to be bulky, but it was still more aggressive play from Hash than we were used to seeing. I mean, turn 1 G-Max, very different for Hash's play style. GG's to Aaron and Hash. Thank you both for joining us. Congratulations to Hash for winning the championship. Unfortunately, we will not have Hash be joining us for next season. He is pursuing other things in life, and we wish him the best of luck with those things. As for Aaron will be returning along with most of our other playoff coaches. I believe Walt is the only playoff coach not returning next season. So next season shall be fun. We'll keep you posted. You'll see the coach announcement all hit Twitter soon. That's at the official BTA on Twitter. And yeah, you'll see the coach announcement for season 8 all start. The day this goes up, we'll probably also be putting up the first coach's announcements. So stay tuned for that. We will be drafting this Friday. We're doing a slow draft with the timer, so that's not going to be hosted live or anything. Maybe we'll do a live draft where it's just like a post-stream draft where we actually show the picks and shit of the draft. Maybe we'll do a video of that for you. We're not sure. Still got to sort it out. I want to talk to some people. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me on this adventure that's been this BTA season. And hey, look, we actually covered every single week. The BTA / formerly the HDL, was able to do videos for an entire season. We hope to do it again next season on a more regular schedule. Unfortunately, we got thrown for a loop a lot of weeks where battles were getting postponed or people couldn't show up to recording sessions. So we're going to try and get these videos to you on a more regular basis. We'll see, though. You know, we have 24 coaches. I am going to say that. So you got 24 coach announcements to look forward to. we got 24 coaches next season, so it is a lot of people we got to try and get scheduled. So videos, if they're irregular, apologies for that, but we're going to try and be on top of it. We might do a power ranking show thing where we show the ranks. I'm not sure. There's a few other show ideas I'm thinking of. We might do coach interviews with some of the new coaches. We'll see. But yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. We also just might do coach interviews with everyone that wants to, just since it's been so long since we have. I don't think we have since the HCL days. And, that's the Husbando Draft League. If you want to find that YouTube channel, you can. I think we have it linked. Not that it's important or that those videos are any good, but there's some gems in there. There's definitely some gems, and if you want to check that out, you can. Feel free to follow me at Twitter at GordonSine, GORDONSINE. Also, there's no incog video in the description this week, so instead I'll link my personal Twitter on top of everything else. Check out the merch, check out our Patreon, check out the website for everything there. And until next time, guys, I've been Gordon Sine, and I'm signing off.